defined as the collaborative effort of multiple disciplines, working locally, nationally, and globally to attain optimal health for people, animals, and our environment. To have a One Health approach to a scenario, one must understand that there are different levels in a diverse, complex environment and health-related interfaces between these levels. A health-related interface is a shared boundary between cells, organisms, and systems across which health influences, like infectious and non-infectious agents, can move that will have a health effect in any other cell, organism, or system. Our case presentation is as follows. An 8-year-old girl, Shaniqua, and a friend Edgar was walking home from school in a rural area in Empangeni in KwaZulu-Natal. They encountered an unfamiliar dog in the road, and when Shaniqua tried to pet him, he lashed out and bit her on the hand. When she got home, her parents didn't worry too much about the wound because it was very superficial. 3 weeks later, she presented with a fever, headache, and numbness around the wound area. Her parents took her to the local clinic where they gave her antibiotics and analgesics and sent her home. 3 days later, she presented with hydrophobia, paralysis, and CNS disorientation. When her parents took her back to the clinic, she went into a coma and subsequently died tragically.
An interface setting is usually defined as a specific geographical area. In our case, this was the town of Empangeni.
Empangeni is a rural setting that is densely populated and mostly consisting of informal settlements. Our specific target interface is one of a human-canine nature.
More specifically, in this case, this was our little girl Shaniqua. She was bitten by a stray dog and subsequently contracted rabies.
Other potential target interfaces in the setting besides the one showed earlier include those between domestic animals, wild animals, and humans. Within domestic animals, the most important interface is the dog-dog interface. Domestic and wild animals also interface with each other, especially in rural areas. Wild reservoirs include the black-backed jackal, the bat-eared fox, and the yellow mongoose. Wild and domestic animals interface with humans and can transmit rabies via biting, scratching, or licking.
Examples of negative health-related interactions at each of the 3 levels of biological organization. On a cellular level, an infective dose of a virulent virus, such as rabies, infects a cell without immunity, whereafter it replicates and spreads via the peripheral nervous system to the central nervous system. On a species level, a rabid dog bites a healthy dog, which will become rabid if not immunized. And on a systemic level, a rabid dog bites a human, whereafter the outcome depends on whether the correct prophylactic treatment is given or not.
The main drivers of influence that result in each of the health-related interactions at each level. At the cellular level, the virus enters the peripheral nerves and spreads to the central nervous system. At the organism level, there's a behavioral change as a result of rabies, which makes contact more likely. Typically, wild animals become tame and tame animals become wild. Then there are 2 forms, the dumb and the aggressive forms. On the systems level, there are unvaccinated free-roaming dogs and an uneducated community which touch or approach unfamiliar dogs, and they are not aware of post-exposure prophylaxis.
Preventative actions for preventing the negative health-related interactions or drivers of the negative interactions. On a cellular level, vaccination of domestic dogs and cats can be done due to the close association with humans. On an external or organism level, you can keep dogs confined and limit exposure and transmission on neuter and spay animals. On a system level, education of people around the behavior of dogs, post-exposure prophylaxis, mass vaccination campaigns, and vaccination of pets.
The stakeholders that need to cooperate and communicate with one another in order to address the drivers and negative health-related influences at each level. At the internal level, for vaccination to happen, we need state vets, vaccine manufacturers, state funding, and pet owners to bring their pets for vaccination. If we look at the external level, it's about communication and cooperation between vets and pet owners on the importance of confinement and sterilization. Lastly, in the system, schools, community workers, healthcare providers, primary animal healthcare technicians, and the government needs to work closely together. In conclusion, collaboration and communication with all parties and disciplines at the internal, external, and system level is essential to control rabies and essentially all other diseases.